Today's video is all about the glutes. I'm going to be giving you my top 5 glute building exercises. First, we're going to start off with our dynamic warm-ups and our glute activation movements, and then we're going to get into the entire workout. So I'm starting off with a dynamic warm-up. I didn't always used to do my warm-ups until about a year ago. I started developing knee pain after like heavy squats and like split squats. Then I started incorporating these dynamic warm-ups. So please do not neglect this part of your routine, and also insist on getting wrist wraps, knee wraps, lifting belts, and things like that just to protect yourself. The reason why we do dynamic stretches and why it's preferred for warm-ups is because they activate your muscles and increases blood flow, which prepares your body for more intense physical activity. Also, I do incorporate the use of resistance bands like this one just to do a few glute activation sets before my glute workout. You can do this as well before training your glutes. The first exercise we're starting off with is a heavy barbell hip thrust. Now, I forgot to bring my barbell pad to the gym, so I had to improvise with a towel. Please use a pad to protect yourself from getting bruises. So currently my most used and loved rep range with this is typically staying around 8 to 12 reps for a good mix of strength and hypertrophy. What I'm doing here is my favorite rep scheme, which is 10-8-6. So what I do now is about 10 reps of hip thrusts and then 8 reps of glute bridges. And usually I would finish off with doing 6 body weight hip thrusts. I'll pause if I need to because the burn here is absolutely incredible. And when I do this, I'm keeping the tension on my glutes as much as I can throughout the set. If you are a beginner and you're unsure what weights to start off with, you can start with just the bar itself just to get your form right. And then you can start off by using 5 to 10 kg plates and then just slowly work your way up. Next are reverse lunges. So you can do this with dumbbells, you can do this with barbells if you're a bit more advanced, and you can also do this like I am doing on the Smith machine. Now typically with the Smith machine variation, I love doing lower rep ranges. So I'll usually do about 8 to 10 reps on each side, and then with the dumbbell variation that I also do, I will probably do that for more higher reps. Now you all know that lunges are a tricky movement, especially for me because I have previous knee pain experience. So when I'm using the Smith machine variation, it allows me to load as heavy as I can for my lower rep ranges without running the risk of any instability. So if you are someone who struggles with balance, I recommend that you do the Smith machine variation. And honestly, any reverse lunge variation is great, to be honest. So yeah. Also, I do like doing a deficit reverse lunge. So if you can see here, the deficit is created by the plate that I'm standing on. So I'm able to go lower and achieve a further stretch in my working glute at the bottom of the movement. Up next are glute bias Bulgarian split squats. So I was going to add this as a variation or a continuation of the reverse lunge because they are both split squat variations, but I decided to separate them because I do both and they are excellent glute builders. So there's probably going to be more than 5 exercises in this video. I like to use one dumbbell for this exercise because for me it's easier with my balance. So to make these more glute bias, you will want to have a wider stance with that working leg so that as you go down, your front shin is able to stay vertical. You also want to lean over slightly. So instead of me looking directly ahead, I'm tucking my chin into my chest so that when you go down, you want to think about sitting back into that working glute rather than just moving straight up and down. If you struggle with your balance here, you can hold on to something lightly. So on this movement, I will typically aim to do about 8 to 12 reps, depending on how heavy the dumbbell I'm using is. So depending on how heavy I'm going, I'll choose my reps. My knees aren't that great with these as well, so I don't go super heavy with the weights. Next exercise are RDLs, specifically dumbbell RDLs. I just find that using dumbbells gives me the best contact while focusing on that hamstring and glute stretch and really feeling it where I want. I usually like to do an 8 to 15 rep range depending on the variation and just the overall workout. And I love to either use a standard dumbbell RDL or I like to implement an extra quarter rep at the bottom where the glutes are under the greatest amount of tension in the exercise. Now, if you're somebody who struggles to feel your glutes doing an RDL, it's most likely because your form is favoring your hamstrings over your glutes. So what you want to do as you begin to drive your hips back and travel down with the weights, I want you to allow for a bit more knee bend. So this is going to help you decrease the hamstrings while increasing the amount of glutes. And you can, of course, use a barbell to perform this exercise as well. So once you achieve that full stretching of your glutes by pushing your hips back as far as you can, think of contracting or squeezing your glutes hard. And don't get me wrong, you're definitely still going to get the hamstrings working in here, but it'll just help you feel your glutes more and get a little bit more glutes out of the movement. The next exercise are dumbbell sumo squats. For me, I don't like doing sumo squats with barbells because my grip is always awkward, and I just prefer doing these with dumbbells. So here I'm actually doing an elevated sumo squat, hence the weights under my feet. This gives me more range of motion. So depending on your mobility, you would want to elevate yourself accordingly so that when you're performing this exercise, you are high enough to a point where when you reach the bottom, your weight is still off the ground so that you don't lose any of the tension that you've built up in your glutes at the bottom of that movement. So when you're doing this, I want you to think of this movement like a mix between a squat and a hinge. So you're hinging your hips back as you squat down with the weights. This exercise has been a staple in my glute workouts for about 2 years now, and it always will be. I can go up to 50 kg dumbbells, and it gives when I add pauses and engagement, so you can get pretty creative with this exercise, but I just absolutely love it for my glutes. And the final exercise are cable kickbacks. So I saved this for last because I would usually do this exercise as a finisher just for an extra glute targeted burn. I will incorporate all different types of reps and variations with these just depending on the workout. So for this exercise, I would usually just stick to a 10 to 15 rep range per leg, and my weights would be a bit lighter so as not to compromise my form. Sometimes I will combine standard kickbacks with other kickback variations back to back to target all different parts of my glutes. So basically these are 5 to 6 of my favorites. I would do a lot more exercise variations, techniques, rep schemes, and just a whole lot of other things that overall contribute to my glute development, but these are the main key exercises that have worked wonders for me and my training and building my glutes. So try incorporating these into your glute training, and thank you guys so much for watching. I am going to leave a link to my 4-week workout programs. They will be found in the description box below, and also don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you guys in my next video.